From the case file section, the first thing we can do is create, edit, or delete a file in a similar way as in the rest of the menus. By double-clicking on the name of a file, we access the window from which we can add or view the antemortem postmortem case that are part of the file. By clicking on the buttons plus antemortem case and plus postmortem case, we will switch between the antemortem and postmortem case menus, respectively. From those menus, we can register a new antemortem and postmortem case by clicking on the button plus Add Antemortem Case to create and add new antemortem case, or the button plus Add Postmortem Case to create and add a new postmortem case. When you click on one of these buttons, a form will be displayed with the case files, and once fulfilled, clicking on the button Save, we will save the data entered and the case will be included in the file. On the other hand, to add cases already created in the antemortem postmortem case databases, as well as to visualize those already added, by clicking on the Added Cases button, we will go on to visualize all the antemortem or postmortem cases entered in the system according to whether we are in the antemortem or postmortem tab. On the list of cases, by clicking on the box on the left, we will add or remove the particular case from the case file. When we click on the button Added Cases, it changes to the All Cases button. If we click on this new button, only the cases already entered in the file will be displayed, and we can remove them from the file by deselecting them.